invisible, not taken into consideration, ignored, not perceptible. I'm not invisible. I am not old. I am not old, she said. I am rare. I am the standing ovation at the end of the play. I am the hours connected like dots into good sense. You may think I'm waiting to die. I say I'm waiting to be found. I am a treasure. I am a map. And these wrinkles that you see are but impressions of my journey, by the storyteller Samantha Reynolds. So as I prepared to write a TED Talk about the social norms of aging and how we transform them in our country, I realized it's hard not to disenfranchise a part of the audience. My young folks are going to think, well, this is just not relevant to us. People on the cusp of or moving through middle age might just think, don't remind me. And then the folks that are older than my 58 might say, hang on, you don't have the cred yet to talk about being old. But honestly, this is generational, because I believe it's time to show up for something different in this country. It all started this summer. I'd actually written another TED Talk proposal for today, and I wasn't quite with it, and I went out to throw the ball for my dog, Rosa Barks. And in between throwing the ball for Rosa, I was dumping wheelbarrows full of dirt into the garden. And after about the 100th wheelbarrow load of dirt, this thought came through my mind: when are you going to be too old to do this? I literally stopped in my tracks, because that thought is so foreign to how I feel like I operate in the world. And I looked around, I was alone, and a pit kind of formed in my stomach. And I thought, oh my gosh, is it 5 years? Is it 10? Is it now, since the question just came to me? And once those questions started coming in, I realized I'm really scared of getting older. So I feel like this was kind of an inspired talk. I was throwing the ball for my dog, and that's God backwards, so who knows. But I started really doing a lot of thinking and talking to people about this, and I decided I've kind of taken part in my own journey towards invisibility as an older person. Think about how we are raised from birth. We look forward to what's next, kindergarten, then puberty, and getting a license, and moving on to college, and getting old enough to drink a toast to all those celebrations, and then moving on through your career, and then retirement, and then you die. And I just got struck that mentally I didn't prepare myself. I do hope not to ever retire, because I love teaching, but I know to financially prepare for retirement. In our country, we know we're all living longer, right? In fact, the U.S. Census Bureau predicts that by the year 2035, for the first time ever, there will be more older adults in this country than children. Let that sink in for a bit. And here's my question: what are we doing to prepare ourselves here at these young ages to be ready to live lives of visibility as older adults? And I did say visibility because I think in this country we have a problem making people invisible past a certain age. In fact, since I started investigating this, I found out that there's a such thing as called as the invisible woman, and it's for women over 50. So I'm onto something. Now, this is a really serious topic, but I want to talk a little bit about humor and something I figured out about aging and humor. First of all, you need it. And as a 31-year teaching veteran, if you don't want to be reminded of your age, don't teach. In kindergarten and first grade, they think you're Wonder Woman. After that, they think you're ancient. And so one year I was talking to my 8th graders, and it was an inspired lecture about the burning of Atlanta, 1864. They were like, you could smell the smoke. I heard horses whinnying behind me. General Sherman marched his Union Army out of Atlanta. I heard their boots. I stopped, and it was transfixed. And then, yes, Ramses. Were you scared? That really happened. That's true. Now, I laughed harder than anybody in the room. They practically had to pick me up off the floor. I just decided it was my excellent teaching and not my age that made it so firsthand. But as I've gone through this, I've also decided my own joking about my age that I have begun doing on a regular basis in my classroom of now high schoolers that I teach had given them permission to start doing the same and making fun of my age as if it was the class joke. Oh, Mama Lee's, she's old. As if I need more reminders, okay? Every time I open a digital or physical mailbox, there's a reminder. Skincare for women over 50, Medicare, I'm not old enough yet, but I'm glad I'll get it someday. But the one that really got me that came in my mailbox? Cell phone with large numbers on a backlit keypad. Powerful speakers so that calls can be heard clearly. And then it went on to say that there's no bells and whistles, so the technology's not so confusing. Now, again, I'm glad for products like that when we need them. But it's the idea that I get too old or that so old that I can't see, hear, or use technology that bothers me. And did you know there's a such thing as retail retirement? There truly is. For women over 50, you can look up a list that tells you things not to wear. Now, I am not going out today to buy a micro mini skirt, so no worries. I wish I could, though. Just reading, I can't. And I will tell you something. I'll never give up glitter. Now, I think that we kind of have, in our culture, we have this philosophy of, you're this age, go play bingo and move to a community for people your age. I ask you, what's wrong with integrated communities? When did we stop deciding that people have relevance and need to be out of the community at a certain age, right? What is the cutoff date for relevance as a human? I don't think there is one, personally. I also wonder how many countries have entire aisles dedicated to over-the-hill party gags. Now, I don't know, and I bought those myself, right? But I just wonder the message. I really do. And I'll tell you something. A few years ago, I went over a hill, but it was one of Colorado's famous 14ers, a mountain that soars 2.5 miles into the sky. Yep. And what's really cool is I was with a group of people ranging in age from their 20s to their 60s. And the secret is, I summited that mountain and I acted like I was the first person that ever did it. But the secret is that it was those young people in front of me on the path and behind me on the path saying, you got this, you got this. So maybe that's the secret. Maybe we really are all better together, regardless. What stories do we miss when we stop at the outer shell of a person? What is inside of that person? For whatever reason we stop at the outer shell. What are we not getting to hear? And what are we, as older people, missing out on when we're not out sharing our own stories? A family member asked me last night, what do you hope the takeaway is for your talk today? And I had to really think about it. And I rewrote my ending. So, TED people, I'm not going to get off the rails too much. But here's my answer to that. Here's my answer. It's time to show up. It's time for a revolution in this country. We are living longer. And don't get me wrong, the fact that we take care of our older parents is golden. But it's more than that. There's a community of parents out there that have something to give back and don't just need to be taken care of. As young as some of you are, you may think this is so far down the road. It's a blink of an eye, trust me. Like that, it's here. And, aging, we're aging from birth. And we're dealing with limitations from birth, right? I've never judged a baby for not walking. So why do we judge people at a certain age for their own limitations? So here's my call and my challenge to all of you. First of all, I ask that you start listening to stories and asking for stories. And I want you to start telling your story. That is what connects us as humans, the story, who we are inside of ourselves. In fact, as a seasoned educator, I've often dealt with something called the Common Core curriculum. But long before that came along, I was thinking about the Common Core. Right here is where you and I and this whole room live. And if we can acknowledge that core And if we start looking beyond our comfort zone to start integrating our communities, we'll only be richer for it. I want you to do something with me. Please put your hand right here. Now, look around the room and make sure you notice the differences in our gender, our ethnicity, and our age. Not here. No, I want you to say something for me. I am present. I see you. You're visible. Please don't settle for not living a life of visibility. And for those of you who have not gotten as far along as I have and as many trips around the sun yet, start preparing now to not let yourself lose relevance. Start preparing now to live a life where nobody can sideline you. Start it now. Visible, able to be seen, not ignored, taken into consideration. Thank you.